All right. Hello. Sorry. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Geopolitical Trends. So excited to be with you on this December 11th. Wow, the month is going by so fast. End of the year is here. So, anyway, good to see you guys. Very excited. I got an interesting topic for you. This one has to do with the US now seeking assistance or help from Middle Eastern countries regarding the Houthis. Very major dynamics. You need to understand the background story. You need to understand also why all of a sudden the US is deciding to reach out to other countries instead of retaliating. So, and this is where we're gonna start with the key questions. And I already wrote them down for you guys to have them already here. So when we here's the questions here. So first of all, what is the US objective? Because this can happen in a vacuum. Okay. Second thing, by consulting with the allies, so-called allies, does the U.S. wants to drag them into a conflict against the Houthis? Because we all remember Houthis were just fighting 2 years ago, both Saudi Arabia and United Arab Emirates, and they couldn't defeat the Houthis. So is the U.S. now? And by the way, we were providing intelligence to the Saudis and the United Arab Emirates. And third question, why the U.S. wants to target the Houthis if it decides to go that way, but not Iran, knowing that the Houthis are backed by Iran? Those are legitimate questions that we need to sort of have an answer to all this. All this comes on the backdrop of what just took place on Friday. Yeah, Friday at the UN Security Council when the U.S. rejected the resolution. It was the only country that rejected it among the 15 members of the UN Security Council. By the way, I did a recorded video for you guys. I will release it next 2 days or so. My editor is working on it right now, and I will release it for you. And I can do a live stream on it if you guys want it. There is a lot to it's a decision that the US is going to regret down the road. So all right, let's and I'm gonna save all my thanks to all the channel members, supporters towards the end. So we'll do that, and please remind me for that one. So, all right, as I said, and please type in where you are joining me from, please. I will greatly appreciate it. So here's the thing: if we are to think about, the U.S. is part, I'll use the term, is part of the problem that is going on right now in Gaza. And at the same time, when the Houthis took a sort of an action, because that's like I saw one of you guys here, the first, a conservative Amber. Yeah, here is what Houthis have guts. Yeah, you're absolutely correct. And now all of a sudden, if the US is doing what it's doing regarding the support of what's going on in Gaza, at the same time, by the way, we want to reach out to our allies, the US and the United Arab Emirates. So why the US didn't reach out to Jordan? Okay, why the US didn't reach out to Egypt, but to those countries? Why? Because those countries were in fight against the Houthis, and by the way, they couldn't defeat the Houthis. So, and that's, to me, as geopolitical analysts, became clear what is the objective for us. So, and we go into more detail as we move forward into this. Just for those who do not know the background of it is that sort of the US now is consulting, so-called consulting, even though I wouldn't even buy that argument. Yeah, it might be some diplomatic here and there, but the Saudis already lashed out at the Americans for not voting at the UN Security Council for the ceasefire. So why and even the Saudis this being lashing out at the US and all that, to me it's nothing but a theater. Where are the Arab worlds? Why they couldn't take an action? How long does it take for them to move forward? I understand the issue of the escalation. I understand the widening of the conflict. But if the US reach out to the allies and the allies get involved against the Houthis, wouldn't that widen the conflict even further? Which will be to the benefit of Israel, by the way, because Israel now is kind of not in a good standing. If you only know what's taking place in southern Lebanon, And I intend to address this. Don't worry, guys. I will not forget. I will, once I set up the next location, I will detail all this. It might be some sort of a little bit late on that info, but that's beside the point. We're not looking for the speedy reporting here. I don't do that. So you all know this one here. So I'm an analyst. I am not a news anchor here. So that's the reason why. So, but here's the thing now. So the U.S. is consulting with allies, and I put this in quote, on appropriate actions. Why would you want to consult with allies when you have a mighty military? Why didn't you act alone? It's because U.S. understand the danger of that. Because we do not know what kind of weapons the Houthis have. That is the same argument have been made about why they couldn't attack Iran. Because we do not know what type of weapons Iran has in its possession. So, and this is where it's at. And here is the quote that really just got me as far as how the idiocy. Yeah, I'll use the term, the idiocy of the Biden administration. When I say administration, I'm referring to his Secretary of State and the National Security and the Secretary of Defense and so forth. So the cabinet, basically, the whole administration is a toss-up. Anyway, here's what he said. This is the National Security Advisor, who, by the way, is not even qualified for the position because he came from a communication background. Has nothing to do with foreign policy. So when you become a National Security Advisor, you have an understanding of the geopolitical landscape and understand how to read it so you can give the appropriate advice to the president. But when you come in from the world of communication, what does have to do with, it's kind of just overlapping. But here's what he said, and I quote, "We have made clear that the entire world needs to step up together, not the U.S. alone, but all of us working together to deal with this emerging challenge that the Houthis present, backed by Iran. We are going to take appropriate action in consultation with others, and we will do so at the time and place of our choosing." End of quote. What do you hear here? Nothing but a bravado. I mean, look at the first sentence. We have made clear that the entire world needs to step up. Well, wait a minute. What did you just do at the UN Security Council when the entire world was calling on you to support a ceasefire because it's the right thing to do? So this is what I'm saying. It's nothing but a bravado, no more, no less. So it becomes, and of course, this came because of the 3 commercial ships that have been targeted by the Houthis. I post something for you on the community post, guys, the image there. That image is real. Yeah, they did board in the. I have the picture of it here. One of those, not one of the ships here. This one right here. They boarded that. Yeah, the Houthis did. So when you hear Jake Sullivan rather saying for the entire world to get together, well, where were you when the entire world was calling for ceasefire? It was we're the only country that vetoed that, because we have the veto power. And second country was the UK, which abstained. Well, UK, I'm gonna say it, UK can move an inch without the approval of its masters. UK is beyond puppet. UK is gone. So what the UK end up doing, which the arrangement has been done, that, you're going to veto, we're going to abstain. Because UK is also part of the Security Council, permanent members. And these permanent members, maybe it's about time to get rid of that. Even the Russians were calling for that. Yeah, they are permanent members, but maybe it's time to get rid of all that. Permanent. What does it mean? And for what? For all 5 countries, the permanent members. Why should be there permanent? No. And why don't you put the UN, United Nations, in some neutral country? Those are questions that, because time has changed, the history of the world has changed, and we need to sort of change with it. That's just part of it. So you all know that the U.S. destroyer, USS Carney, Navy destroyer that's been patrolling in the area, claim that it's intercepted and shut down 3 drones. Yeah, it might be true. I don't know. I tend to listen or read with skepticism when things are emanating from Washington or Central Command, for that matter. So, but if it's the case, what makes you think? Why makes you wonder why the U.S. didn't retaliate? Because it goes beyond. So, before I move forward, I'm going to do a little bit of geography, a little bit of history, because you need to understand the location. Again, location and the history will make more sense to you. So let me share a screen with you. I'm going to open up a link here, and I'll share it with you guys because, not this one. Present, share screen. There we go. So, and I'm going to leave this screen on by addressing a few other key terms and also move into the history so you'll have a better understanding of all this here. So, what you're looking at, of course, the southern part of Saudi Arabia right here, and Yemen. Yeah, you're looking at it. This is Saudi Arabia here and Yemen. So, Yemen, by the way, is an Arabic country, of course, yeah, and located in the southwestern region of Asia on the Arabian Peninsula. That's what you see there, rather on the left side from the southern part of Saudi Arabia. The country is currently ruled by provisional government, which took over the political crisis that started in 2011. This is where the U.S. got involved indirectly with Saudi Arabia and United Arab Emirates. So the interim government moved the capital from Sana'a. I've been there. I spent a lot of time in Yemen back then when I used to work inside Washington. So they moved it from Sana'a into Aden. Aden is one of the largest cities in the country. Sana'a has been serving as the capital until the political instability started in 2011. There was also that idea of Yemen was always wanted to be the south and the north separated and so forth. So the religion in the country is Islam, of course, with the Sunnis making about 65%. It's very interesting for you to understand these dynamics of the religious makeup of society, because it will make more sense to you why the Houthis were able to act, but not the Saudis or the Jordanians or the Egyptians or whomever else. So Sunnis making 65% of the population. Shia makes about 35%. There are other religious minorities there, less than 1%, including Yemeni Jews. Yeah, they exist in Yemen and they live in peace. Nobody will harm them, because there is no need to. You don't harm Jewish people. So who are we to decide where this race can live and this can? That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. So the political instability in Yemen was brought by, of course, what took place with the Shia group known as the Houthi. The official name for the Houthis, by the way, is Ansarullah, which translates to, it's an Arabic word for supporters of God. Here is the reason why I use the Houthis instead of Ansarullah. It's because it is more commonly known in the Western audience. When you mention Houthis, then you mention Ansarullah. That's the only difference. So, and the group, the Houthis, that is, has been fighting the government of Yemen since the 1990s. Yeah, that's how far it goes. So it's a long history. And by the way, when you look at the map right here, here is Aden. This is Taiz. Taiz is one of the big cities here. This is Saada. Saada is in the north, and I was in Sana'a, so I was closer here. So I'm very familiar. This is where the Houthis are headquartered. They have their location. But if you look at here, and I'm pointing at it on the map, is the borders. This is called Ar-Rub' al-Khalid Desert in Saudi Arabia. This is nothing but a desert. And I'm going to share some pictures with you because I've been in that part of the world. So I'm going to stop sharing here, and I'll bring back the map just for you to see. This is the Ar-Rub' al-Khali. So I went to the desert there, and that was way back in time. And so I'm going to share a few pictures with you guys. to see. Of course, Saudis and whole Middle East, camels are big there. And I drank the common milk. You know, it was a farm. I was talking to the farmer, and they got me some milk and jugged it up. And my colleagues were very nervous. Oh, we can't. It's not processed. And I say, you guys do not understand. This is far better than the skim milk you are drinking back home. So they don't know. They didn't know. So I had the ride on the camel here just to enjoy. But this is not what I wanted to share with you. What I wanted to share with you is the location of that the Rub al Khalid desert. So here are some images here. What's behind me here is just that desert. There's nothing. We were the only one there. And by the way, I had a flat tire on my SUV back then, so we had to fix it there and so forth. So yeah, it's nothing. No human civilization, nothing. Just rocks and dust, and that's it. And by the way, where I'm standing, I threw a pebble down just to see how far. It took a while before it hit down. Of course, I didn't hear it, but it was way down. So, here's another picture here. And all this just desert. Yeah. I saved this picture just, some say, well, you were crazy sitting there. It's like, you got only to live once, man. You only live once. You live life according to you, not to others. So you enjoy it. And here's my last picture here with you guys. So. All right. So let me bring back that map here because we need to see. And again, geography does, will help you understand where the realities of a country is. So now you think in terms of even the Houthis themselves. Who are they? Because you're going to have to understand a part of their history. So, to put it within the context of why the U.S. didn't retaliate. So, well, of course, the Houthis, when, as I said earlier, the instability in Yemen started back then. Of course, the Houthis are backed by Iran. It's not a secret. It is not a secret. But just the fact that they are backed by Iran, could it be enough reason for why no Western, not just the US, no Western country wants to get involved? It's because they saw what took place in Ukraine. European Union ain't gonna move an inch. So, and this is also when the Houthis started launching missiles back then when they were still in fight with the Saudis. So, but this one here, they launched missiles and hit about 3 commercial ships in the southern part of the Red Sea. Yeah, that's what happened about a week ago. And that was triggered the question, will the U.S. military strike back? No, it didn't. It did not. Because here's the thing. The Houthis, which to me, they have a gut. Yeah, they are strong enough sort of to move forward and because they are part now to the conflict. When they are looking at all the Arab world just watching from the sidelines. That's all. Arabs tends to do more talking than acting. So the Houthis have sharply escalated their attacks against the ships, and especially when they are moving through Bab el-Mandab. And here is Bab el-Mandab because you need to see where Bab el-Mandab is. Right here, this narrow strait, right, this one. They control it. They control any ship that is going. Of course, they're going to get on a ship, check the manifest, see if it matches whatever out there. And if there's some discrepancies, it becomes clear that, oh, you are not who you claim to be. And they'll take over. This is what the Houthis are doing. And the West, European Union, the US, West in general, they are thinking twice about getting engaged because they know what it means. Houthis will not bluff. No. This is where that difference is. So it becomes the question of, all of a sudden, by the way, some of those attacks were never reported. They were never reported. It took a while before information started to trickle down. That is part of the reason why now the US is considering they use the term consulting. Well, they're not consulting. They are seeking help. Seeking help with Saudi Arabia and United Arab Emirates with the Houthis, to deal with the Houthis? Well, we were the one, as I mentioned earlier, providing intelligence to the Saudis. As a matter of fact, they were even, some of us were flying those planes. You'll never hear that, but of course we were. So, and so when you think about the history of how the Houthis came about, so this swept down to power from their northern stronghold in Yemen. When I say stronghold, is this location right here, Sa'da. It's called Sa'da. That's where their headquarters is. That's where they are from. So, and this goes back to 2014 when they seized the capital, Sana'a. And it was grinding war, as you may know, because that's where it led to 2015 coalition of other countries. And I was aware of the list. I wish I had it with me rather. Some Arab countries who got involved, and some of them withdrew later on, sending some aid, some support, not to the Houthis. Oh, the whole world was against the Houthis. So the question becomes, why all of a sudden now we want to go with the US against the Houthis? Houthis, they don't care whether the West, the European Union, the US, whatever, they don't care for that. They've been on their own since that war began back then. So, and because in 2015, this coalition of Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, and so forth, they even issued a blockade on the Yemen. There was starvation. I wrote articles about this stuff back then. They were trying to restore Yemen exiled, internationally recognized government to power. It was at that time by the name of Abdurrabbu Hadi. Hadi was the president, but he exiled to Saudi Arabia. Well, because the Saudis who put him there to begin with. And why this is all about? Let me tell you. When you look at this area here, this Rub al-Khalidat desert, those images I showed you, this is where most of the oil in Saudi Arabia is. And who's living in this part between the north part of Yemen and southern part of Saudi Arabia? Majority Shia. So you can just see why the concern on part of the Saudis about oil. Same with the West. So of course it was a bloody fight that took place between the Houthis and the Saudi-led coalition, and all of a sudden it decided to settle in a stalemated proxy war. Because the whole Yemen problem, or the fighting, whatever, it's not about the Houthis. It was a proxy war between Saudi Arabia and Iran. It's the same thing that took place in Afghanistan back then. That's why a lot of people do not understand the dynamics of how the complications, because at that time, we wanted that tension to remain between the two arch enemies in the Middle East, Saudi Arabia and Iran. But when China brokered the deal, oops, that's it. No more. We have nothing to fall back on. And by the way, just to let you know, in the Yemen war, there were over 150,000 people that died. And those both civilians, fighters, and the massive starvation, diseases, and so forth. It was a nightmare. It was a nightmare. But also the Saudis couldn't. Yeah, and I use the term, Saudis couldn't defeat. They couldn't defeat the Houthis. Even the Saudis had the Patriot missile system. It was useless against and this is where the fear in Israel is come from. It's coming from the fact that if missiles start to be launching from all directions, yeah, the Iron Dome might work. You prevent. All it's going to take is one missile to get through. And you know why? What the problem is because every settlement inside Israel is not equipped for war. That's what makes it very, very challenging. And the fear that exists. So now the Houthis are, because they're showing bones that Arab countries couldn't. Just tell me if there is any Arab country beside issuing statements. Well, we all can say statements. Let's face it. Like they said, art is very difficult, but criticism is easy. To those who speak French, and I know there are some of my viewers here from Canada speaks French. Comme on dit, l'art est difficile, mais le critique est facile. It's so easy to talk. Cheap. Talk is cheap, as we said. So this is where those challenges, now that the US is figuring out that US is being almost isolated. EU is useless. UK is useless. So what's left? Israel is by itself. And even the Americans are now thinking in terms of, you know what? Maybe we need to figure this out as far as, yes, they voted against the ceasefire, but there are more questions inside Washington than just an act like this. Because you got individuals not thinking in terms of, we can't sustain this forever. We can't be just following blindly. Till when? Till when? And this is where you have to think in terms of, and I intend to do, by the way, because there are some very, what's the word? Certain parts of the conversation I can't put here because they are very sensitive, not as far as classifications, but the nature of the information itself. And I will share it with you. Mark my word on this. I will share it with you in another location. You will know, and when that time comes, we will do that. So, but to me, just to put this in perspective for you, this is why the US couldn't react to the Houthis. And the same argument is made inside Tel Aviv for why they couldn't attack Iran, because they don't know what type of weapons Iran has. And if you remember, who was in Russia recently? Iranian President Ibrahim Raisi. Well, among those was a conversation about some military hardware. It came to my attention, and as I said again, we will talk about all this, and I will provide you. I will even provide you the reason, the reason why Putin was able to fly to the Middle East. Yeah, there are some really technical stuff behind the scenes. Wasn't even reported. Well, you may ask yourself, how did I know that? Well, we will get to that at some point. So for now, suffice it to say, let's stay with where we are right now. That here is the thing of what the Brigadier General Yahya Sari, the guy you saw in the images, like that I put for you there on the thumbnail, he said, and I quote, "We want to prevent Israeli ships from navigating the Red Sea and the Gulf of Aden until the Israeli aggression against our steadfast brothers in Gaza Strip stops." End of quote. But again, the Arab world is watching on all this. So Houthis are putting the Arab world to shame. Let's just say it straightforward, because we can't. With all this comes the calculus of the United States. And this is why I said earlier, this comes on the backdrop of the US vetoed resolution at the UN Security Council. So what is the calculus? Well, first of all, you got two things. One is that we have now further cement our lack of credibility on the global stage. That's one, with that vote, the veto power at the UN Security Council. Second, with this one, we couldn't attack or we couldn't retaliate, whatever term you want to use, against the Houthis, but we went ahead and did that against the militias in Iraq, and we did that against other in Syria. And those were in reaction to about 77 different attacks since October 17. As a matter of fact, at the time of this conversation here, one of the groups in Iraq, the leader of the groups, I forget the name of it, issued an ultimatum to the US president to leave Iraq. If not, they're going to start attacking US troops. And as one who was there and I saw, they won't hesitate. Because things have changed now. The whole geopolitical landscape in the Middle East has changed. The era of US dominance is over. This is why you're noticing. And again, we are not hearing the other side of the stories as to really what's going on in southern Lebanon with Hezbollah. And I'm saving this for you for another session on a different platform, and we will do this one here. So now, when you start hearing about, let me ask you a question. Have you heard anything that the EU said about this? And if not, why? Why do you think the EU is not able to say a word about all this? In your opinion, I'd like to have your inputs into this. Why the EU is staying mum about all this? because it shows, Houthis are not, they are fierce fighters. And the West, collective West, is realizing, no, this is different. And this is where you have to understand the strategy of Israel. When I say Israel, I'm referring to the government, trying to pull us into more conflict. Because if you know, and this is not a secret, I mean, it's, YouTube might say, well, you can't say that, kind of ridiculous. When the truth is the truth, you can't cherry pick the truth. Israel will always wants to fight by proxies using the US. If you only remember the USS Liberty issue back then, I do see the same scenario here, that Israel could take over maybe aircraft, or maybe we could say, to save face, we're going to say, well, you know what, guys, there's a technical into the US aircraft, and we need, within 20 days, we have to remove it out. When in reality, there's no technical. We just don't want to be there. This is when you consider, because, not when you consider, it's because we do not know what kind of weapons the other party has. We know what Jordanians have. We know what the Saudis have, because we're the ones selling them that. We know what the Egyptians have, because we selling them this stuff. But we don't know what Iran has. We don't know what Houthis have. We don't know what Hezbollah has. And this is, again, where you have to understand this dynamics of where things are headed and why we couldn't react to the Houthis. The second part to what I started earlier talking about, the U.S. Cement its lack of credibility. The second one has to do with how the history is going to remember the U.S., the dark side of the U.S. history at this period. Because remember, this will never be forgotten. It will never. It pains me to say, and I'll say it, I don't shy away, shame on my government, because the government doesn't represent me, by the way. To me, no, you don't represent me when you are on the wrong side of history. So, yeah, I am an American, but that doesn't mean I agree 100% with what my government is doing, because what my government is doing is wrong. Straightforward. There is no if and buts. There are no souls left in Washington. Shame. But this case of the Houthis goes beyond emotions, goes beyond, it goes to the heart of the matter. And the heart of the matter is, we won't be able to fight. Despite what you hear, this military might and all that. Two examples, Iraq and Afghanistan. That's all you need. History doesn't lie. We can manipulate history in many ways, like we did with World War II. When we're saying we won World War II, we did not. It was the Soviet Union that won World War II. We manipulated history. This is why history is very important to understand. So the second thing about American foreign policy, it's again only it's only cementing that notion of how fragmented our foreign policy is and has been for the last 3-4 decades. And I've said this on many occasions. We will not have a strategy when it comes down to foreign policy till you change the entire system. And you all know what I mean by that. So when you hear, for example, entities inside Washington saying, well, we will continue to consult with international allies and partners. What allies? What partners? When you are the only country that vetoed a ceasefire to stop a humanitarian catastrophe. So what partners? Yes, you have the UK. Yes, you have Germany. Yes, you have France. They're part, Canada, you name it. We all know the West, collective West, that is. But the evidence is becoming more clear. Couldn't be clearer, like a daylight or daytime. So this is where the idea that why certain countries are saying, let the US take the lead on this. We don't want to get involved, because they saw what took place in Ukraine. They saw what took place with the US in Afghanistan. They saw what took place with the US in Iraq. It was always that coalition, right? With the Houthis is a different calculus. And Washington is thinking twice about saying whether we're going to do this or not. And to me, I don't think so. They could have reacted by now. That was exact same thing I said about before the vote in the UN Security Council, because it made sense to me that the US will veto that instead of supporting that. But at the same time, they didn't understand. Whomever was advising the president didn't give the right advice in understanding long term, because we don't think long term. We were thinking the decision was made based on upcoming presidential elections. Like we always say, il faut jamais regarder le bout du nez. Don't ever look at the end of your nose. That's exactly what it is. With the case of the Houthis, we kind of looked at it. It might make more sense not to get involved. Let's blame it on something else, because that's usually another way how we get out of very delicate situations, by shifting the blame elsewhere. You all remember the Nord Stream 2 pipeline that was blew up. Who attacked that? Just to give you an idea. And this is where history comes full circle, is to understand the examples that took place. And now, because you got one of the main issue that doesn't exist anymore. And what is that issue? Is the tensions between Saudi Arabia and Iran. It's not there anymore. As a matter of fact, both Saudi Arabia and Iran are talking about some form of coordination. The question, especially on the part of the Saudis, will they act or will they just talk? In my experience, they will just do more talking. That's my experience. As one who been there, worked there, wrote books about Saudi Arabia, understand the political structure, understand the history of Saudi Arabia from way back in 1932 when it was established as a sovereign state, all the way to today, been following through. They will do more talking. And I'm not just pointing fingers at Saudi Arabia, I'm pointing fingers at all Arab world. Arabs tends to talk too much. Anyway, we said this before, and now you see in action by the Houthis. Mind you. The big concern I have is the escalation of the conflict, because it will widen. And if it widens, what would you have? What will happen? Because it will have to be some measures that has not been considered. Because that action, if it's taken by, let's say, an Arab country, by a country, let's just put it this way, it's going to alter the course of history as we know it. That is the fear I have. But on the other hand, you're going to have to put an end to some. How much can you talk? That's like you dealing with a bully, for example. Let's say somebody's bullying you. What do? The first time you say, you know what, man, why don't you just go home? Let's just keep peace here, okay? So the person doesn't listen. They keep bullying. And at some point, what are you going to do? You're going to have to react to end it permanently. So that's the way I see how these things are moving. And this one, when you hear, for example, comments saying, oh, this shows the recklessness of the Houthis, how they are reacting. No, it's not a recklessness. No. Whomever's saying something like this are also supporting the humanitarian catastrophe that's taking place elsewhere. So they couldn't see that, but they saw the other one. That just doesn't make sense. So it's because they know, whomever issuing these kind of statements, they know that Houthis, Hezbollah, other groups, movements, whatever you want to call them, if they get together, it's over. And if the US will be dragged in, already here for us in the US, already the approval against this support is going up. We do not want to prove this. Majority. One research by the Pew, I think I read about only 19% of Americans are supporting what's going on right now. 19, that's about it. That to me spells what lies ahead moving forward. So, and even Americans will be asking which logical question to ask. What's in it for us when our tax dollars are just being wasted? As an American, I have the right to ask. I have the right to hold the government accountable. I have the right to question the decisions of the government. That's what a proactive citizen does. And I'm not doing it on the whim of my head. I'm doing it based on the Constitution. That's what the Constitution gives me, the right to ask these questions. And if the government will prosecute me for that, so where is democracy? It's illusion. You know, you think about it. Most Americans, you just ask them, do you know what's going on in some location called Gaza? Do you know where that is? Okay, what's in it for us? And you forgive them. They don't know. People are struggling just to make ends meet. They're worrying what's for dinner. So when you hear these entities coming with saying, well, the Houthis breaking the international law and all that stuff, what are we doing? You know, if they are breaking the international law, what would you consider our actions? That's just common sense to say this. It's the right question, and we can't shy away, guys, because we can be cherry picking the wording. We're smart enough, all of us in this community. We can think now. We can think. So, let me say thank you to CJ. Thank you so much, man. I truly appreciate it. Thank you for educating us. You said you are going to move to another platform. Which other platform should we follow you on? I will let you know. I'm not disclosing anything right now, but you will know. Trust me, guys. I want you to know. You will not be kept in. You will know where I'm going to be ahead of time, and will, you know, don't worry. I don't want you to worry. A lot of people asking the questions. I'm not going to disappear here, so you will know. But thank you so much for your super stickers, CJ. Truly appreciate it. I'm just having to put the final touches, technicality that is before I launched that one. So, oh, Danielle Modus Scudder, thank you so much for being here. First time I see your name here. Thank you so much. Truly appreciate your support. It means a lot. Okay, and by the way, guys, just prepare 2 questions or 3. I'll answer them later on. So, for the channel supporters members, remember to join me towards the end of the year. And if you like to become a channel member or support this channel, here is the links here if you guys want to support it. And I'm going to say my thanks towards the end for the members. So this is where the idea of thinking in terms of when you're hearing statements about, well, we're going to have to get together because the world was used to be united and needs to be united on this front. Well, wait a minute. When the world was united on the other front, when the atrocity was committed, were committed and still are committed, where was the U.S.? Why did Jake Sullivan, the national security advisor, didn't come forward and said, well, you know what? Those are, where was he? That it tells you right there. You know, those are what I call them, not only amateurs, but they are yes, sir, yes, ma'am, individuals. Anytime you have a person serving around you that is yes, sir, yes, ma'am, you don't want those people. You want to get rid of them. Straightforward, no emotions, no. Because you have to have somebody who can tell you when you are wrong. When you're wrong, somebody will tell you, sir, you are wrong on this. And if you appreciate that, you will tell the person, please explain to me where I made the mistake. Because we're just humans. We're prone to making mistakes. But our ego gets in the way. Oh, I'm always right. You're always wrong. It's the ego. And that stems from not understanding what a human nature has ought to be. Because you're going to ask yourself, how many wars were there during the last century? How many died from genocide and political oppression? And did we ever learn from all that? No, we didn't. Still committing the same mistake again. And for us, and for me as an American, why is my country supporting something that is wrong? Why? And this is where that idea of it's going to have to become very, very, very challenging in terms of it ain't gonna work. Ain't gonna work. Yeah, they can say all they want. And I just don't see anything changing, because that is where the when you realize words don't matter because we don't have credibility. So we can just say the right words that sounds right, but they have no meaning whatsoever. So this is where I see the challenge moving forward. All right, guys, let me take a look at, and that's all I have to share with you on this one here. Let me go first, say thanks to the channel members and supporters, but there is something specific I need to express here. And he was one of an avid supporter by the name Zhu Liang. I thank you so much for bringing this to my attention. The last time I had to give a shout out to 10 individuals who became new channel members. Well, guess what? Those 10 members, it was one person who bought them the membership. And that person is Zuzudu Luin. I can't thank you enough for doing this. You guys, those new 10 members, one of you should have come forward and said, by the way, Dr. O, it was someone else who got us that membership, because that is the right thing to do. So I didn't know. I did not know till Zhu Liang sent me a message letting me know that it was Zuzudu Luin that bought them the membership. 10 of them, the last 10. So please, if something like this happened next time, do let me know right away, because I like to give credit where credit is due, because that's the right thing to do. So once again, thank you so much, Zuzudu Luin, for getting that message for those 10 members. I want to also give a shout out to the last person who just became a member of the channel by the name Janine Maland. Thank you for becoming a channel member. I truly appreciate you, and I look forward to having you during the exclusive Q&A towards the end of the month. I also want to say thank you to a person who bought me coffee recently by the name Ty Silver. Thank you so much for buying me coffee. Truly appreciate it. Some of you who bought me coffees before send a message saying, well, it's only coffee, Dr. O. No, it means a lot to me. I want you to know that. It's not about just the coffee. It's about the gesture. It's about the thinking, which reflects on your human nature, how good you are. It's not about just the coffee. Yes, the gesture and all that stuff. It goes beyond. Like I always say, guys, watch what a man does versus what he says. Two separate things. So I want to say thank you all for your continued support. To all of you, no exception. And I will still continue to depend on your support when we move to the new location in due time, and I will let you know. So, all right, let me see a question from you guys, if there is a question here, and I will answer it for you. Then we'll move on. And by the way, be on the lookout for a video soon, and I can do a live stream on it as well if you guys want it. Just leave me a comments. That's the reason why I read your comments. That's why I read that one. So, and I'm seeing some names here that I've been seeing you all. Boone, Jack Robert, Boycott, Razafi, Farhad. Good to see you as well. Poyen Tsu, good to see you. Alan Roy, Samina, good to see you. Conservative Amber, good to see you. A lot of you guys have been seen here before. So, Oh, Omsi. Hi, Dr. O. Thanks for covering this topic. You are most welcome. You're most welcome. Yeah, as a matter of fact, Omsi, you're the one who put the comment on my tweet. Correct me if I'm wrong. You're the one who put a comment on my tweet. I remember I read it and I said I will cover that one. So do all thanks. I like this screen name. Do all thanks with love. I really like it. You're Dr. O, your punctuality is top notch. Very impressive. Thank you for not keeping us waiting. Like, no. I'm a former military. You show up on time. That's how I've always done it in my classrooms with my students. And there was like a story that if you would like me to share it with you, I'd be happy to do it. It used to be this guy by the name Charlie. Charlie was retired, he used to work at Walmart. Okay. He was a greeter. So anytime when customers come in, he always smiles, said hi, welcome, and so forth. And a lot of people will write notes to the management and said, hey, we like this guy at the door, the greeter, very nice guy. So one day the manager called him up. I said, Charlie, I would like you to come over to my office. I need to share something with you. So he went in and he said, hey, Charlie, I want to let you know that a lot of customers are so happy with you here. You're always well-groomed, pleasant personality, positive energy, always smiling and all that stuff. But there is one little thing I want you to work on. And Charlie said, yeah, sir, what is it? He said, I want you always to be on time because you're always late, 2 minutes here, 3 minutes here, and so forth. Can you work on that? Oh, I say, sure, sir, I will do my best. And Charlie turned around on his way out to the door. The manager told him, oh, by the way, Charlie, I looked at that you were in the military. So how do you used to handle this when you show up late? 2 minutes here and 3 minutes. Charlie has a grin on his face looking at the ground. He said, well, sir, they used to tell me, good morning, Admiral. Would you like to have your coffee, sir? You got my point, right? No, I will show up on time because that's my respect for you, because I would not want you to be sitting there waiting. So thank you for your comment. Truly appreciate it. All right, let me see a question from you. And I'm scrolling all the way down here. All right, here's a question from Army with Harmony. By the way, Army with Harmony, I look forward to seeing you at 5 o'clock for the live stream I'm going to do on the health channel. Yeah, I do a health channel, guys, because health is very important. And the knowledge that I've gained over the years, it's another thing I wanted to share it with you all. So if you'd like to join me at 5 o'clock, that's when I'm doing that one. So health is very important. So question, what leverage does the U.S. have asking for consultation weapons? The question kind of not too clear, Army. If you're talking about what leverage, meaning exerting pressure, the U.S. has no possession anymore to exert pressure. That era is gone. Why? Because it's reflective of the shifting geopolitical landscape. And second, Saudi Arabia and United Arab Emirates, they already had experience with the Houthis on the other side, meaning fighting. They don't want to get again. When you start seeing missiles flying over to the Saudi oil refineries, we just didn't hear much about all that. That's what the Houthis were doing. So the U.S. has no leverage. The Saudis now has lashed out to the U.S. So the U.S., the Saudis have shifted eastward. The U.S. era of dominance in the Middle East is coming to a close. It's a reality that Washington doesn't want to admit. And I'm here to tell you, as a geopolitical analyst, I am telling you how I read the landscape. There is a clear indication that the era of U.S. dominance in the Middle East has come to an end. That's the bottom line to it. So, all right, I'll do one more question here. If I see a question, then that's a question not for me. That's from Francis Tango. For everyone who watches Rambo, why can't watch it on my TV, but I can watch it on my phone? Okay, that's beyond me. I can't answer that. So, all right, I'm looking at one more question. And by the way, I'm working on a story that is a story that deals with China using the digital renminbi to settle first cross-border oil transaction. Yeah, I am verifying the information and also sharing it. I'm gonna do. Do you guys want me to do a live stream on it, or do you want a recorded vid? Because my recorded vid, no more than 12 minutes, 10 minutes. That's it. There are one of you guys put a comment for me. It's like, Dr. Ho, can you cut down the length of the live stream? They want it very, very short. I won't be able to cover everything. Yeah, I can cut it down to 15 minutes, but you won't learn anything. So I just want you to know that I did read that comment, and but I'm thinking the big picture here, because I want you to get out of this time that you spend with me with useful information that I can't share in 15 minutes. I just don't see that happening. But thank you for your suggestion. So truly appreciate it. All right. Question here from Hongwan. Dr. O, will you be asking Colonel Douglas McGregor on the show? We did ask. Did reach out to him. His schedule said he's busy. That's usually a subtle way of, I can't make it because I have too much on my plate. That's the way I interpret it. I respect when people let me know that there's nothing he can do, but of course we'd love to have him. Same with Scott Ritter. We'll bring him over here if he can make it. And but I am very respectful of people's schedule, because I know what it's like. And I'll be happy to reach out also. I will be happy to reach out again and try. So, Francis Tango, Doctor, you also know how many? Yes, I do have some rough estimates based on some information I accessed from overseas. Again, I am not disclosing anything here, but there are some. They are what's been going on in southern Lebanon, to the point that Israel had to use air power. That tells me right there. Some tanks have been destroyed and so forth. So, but I will not disclose it here. But I will not forget this, guys. I want you to know I will do those specific videos. I have them already lined up in my on my desktop, and I organized everything for you guys, because you need to know. You need to know, and I'll be doing it soon. So this is not going to be 3 months from now. I'm looking at getting it done this week. So then we can move on with that. All right, guys, I hope you find this very informative, and I look forward to seeing you next time. As always, remember, geopolitics impacts your daily life in more ways than one. Till next time, guys. Bye-bye.